Good morning and welcome to the midweek edition of Business Morning here on Channels Television. And this is a 55 minutes of current and relevant business conversations. And it happens right here. I'm Ini John McWell. We'll get right into it with what's going on in the commodities space. Chicago corn futures lost more than $1 on Wednesday, and soybeans extended losses as U.S. forecasts for much-needed rains eased concerns over yield losses after recent hot and dry weather conditions. Wheat slid 2% after rallying to a 5-month high on Tuesday following Russia's attacks on Ukrainian ports and grain infrastructure that raised concerns about global supplies. Rains forecast for this week will ease some of the concerns over dryness in major portions of the United States corn belt during the last several weeks. The most active corn contract on Chicago Board of Trade gave up 1.2% to $5.58 for 3/4 of a bushel, and soybeans dropped 0.7% to $14.10 a bushel. Wheat lost 2% to $7.45 for half a bushel after climbing to its highest since February the 21st, which was at $7.77 for 1/4 of a bushel in the last season. Forecasts of crop-friendly rains in the United States Midwest weighed on corn and soybean futures. Traders continue to monitor crop weather in the United States Midwest as the region's corn finishes pollinating, a key growth stage in determining yields, while soybeans approach their pot-setting phase in August. In the oil space, now prices pulled back from 3-month highs on Wednesday as industry data showed a build in U.S. crude inventories, and investors remain cautious ahead of an expected Federal Reserve rate hike later on today, Wednesday. Brent crude futures slipped 38 cents to 0.45%. to $83.26 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude was $79.22, and that's down 41 cents. U.S. crude stocks rose by about 1.32 million barrels in the week ended July the 21st, according to market sources who have cited American Petroleum Institute. And analysts hold that they were expecting 2.3 million barrels drawdown. U.S. government data on inventories is due later on today, and the Fed's policy meeting started yesterday, Tuesday, with most market participants expecting the central bank to deliver a 25 basis points rate hike when it concludes. But with price pressures easing, money market traders are split on the odds of another hike later on in the year. The U.S. dollar has been on a gradual uptrend, rebounding from a 15-month low last week and making it more expensive for buyers to procure commodities such as oil. On Tuesday, Brent and WTI hit their highest since April 19 amid concerns about supply due to output cuts by OPEC plus allies, basically Russia and Saudi Arabia, as they pledge to cut more, to implement more cuts in the month of August. However, concerns about how China, which is the world's #2 oil consumer, will actually step up policy support remained and keeps a further lid on prices. So while the U.S. is closing its meeting, its rates meeting today, and we're expecting to hear their rates decision, Nigeria had its meeting concluded yesterday and delivered a 25 basis point increase in interest rate, raising it to 18.75. This is how that decision was reached.
The acting governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Folashodun Shonubi, leads senior management officials to this media briefing after chairing the first Monetary Policy Committee meeting under the administration of President Bola Tinubu. The two-day meeting is coming at a time when inflation, high debt burden, and poor crude oil output is hitting global economies, and Nigeria is not left out.
The committee reviewed developments.
The committee voted to hike the MPR by 25 basis points to 18.75% from 18.5%, a decision that is driven by the rate of rise in inflation in the country.
Inflation across several advanced economies has continued to moderate, but remains considerably above their respective long-run objectives, even as monetary policy tightening progresses. In emerging markets and developing economies, inflationary pressure remains broadly elevated, though there are signs of moderation in some countries. Global inflation is thus expected to remain elevated through 2023, despite broad measures by several central banks to ease the pressure.
Mr. Shonubi also stated that the committee considered the effect of the increase in interest rates on investors, hence the moderate hike. He also noted the equity market has remained bullish, which indicates investors' confidence in the market. He noted that the volatility around foreign exchange rates will soon normalize.
We need to encourage the markets to be more efficient and to be more effective, and that takes a bit of time. Some of the volatility you've seen over the period has been driven by that same fact that the market needs to find its level, and also the reality that there's pent-up demand which current supply may not be sufficient for. And as we ease and satisfy the pent-up demand, we begin to see a more efficient market that runs. But you also need to understand that the dynamics of pricing in the market, and we feel we should actually stop calling it the I&E, because it is now much more than the I&E. For us, it's a market where everybody and anybody, through the licensed institutions, can participate.
The Central Bank of Nigeria hopes to continue seeking for ways to control all inflationary indices, as well as reduce the sufferings faced by Nigerians. Victoria Longjohn, Channels Television News.
So that was the meeting yesterday, delivered a 0.25% increase in the interest rate, now at 18.75%. Sierra was not touched, even though some people had, hoped that the deposit money banks will also get that concession that merchant banks got, which is that Sierra was reduced from 32.5% to 10%, giving them the room to have more liquidity, to lend to the public. But apparently, they did not get that. So we're going to talk about sustainable development now, but with Sahad Abdul Salam, he's the head of financial standards and corporate governance with the SEC. He's joining us from our Abuja studio. Hi, Sahad. Good morning. I guess I can't help but ask you this.
Good morning, Eni.
Yeah, I can't help but ask you this. Are you happy about this interest rate hike? A mild interest rate hike, I think we should also add that.
The issue of sustainability in Nigeria or across the globe is a very important issue. The global attention from regulators to investors to issuers to reporting entities and so on has now shifted to the issue of sustainability. Now, people keep hearing about ESG, 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 and it has become like a song that people are always happy to sing. But we need to understand what ESG means, which is an acronym for environmental, social, and governance. And it is a parameter that is being used to assess companies' operations and their impact on the environment, on the social life, and how those businesses are governed. And when you look at the issue of environment, we have some challenges across the globe, ranging from high temperatures, flooding, environmental degradation, and so on, that must be tackled. So we making all efforts in dealing with those issues.
All right. I would have loved for you to comment, on the rate hike, but I mean, let's leave it at that. You want to talk about the sustainable development, but I mean, sometimes this issue of sustainable development and ESG, they sound foreign to a lot of businesses in Nigeria, and especially the small businesses will ask themselves or ask the question, how do I inculcate this into my everyday running of the business? How do I adopt this, and what benefit is there for me even when I adopt it?
Okay, thank you. You see, across the globe, we have so many sustainability standards that businesses are expected to comply with. But that effort has now been taken over by the International Financial Reporting Standards Board, which is the IASB, International Accounting Standards Board, in concert with the International Organization of Securities Commissions across the world. International Organization of Securities Commissions, IOSCO, is a body coordinating the affairs of securities, capital market authorities in about 95% of the world, with the superpowers like the UK, US, Canada, and so on being members of that organization. Now, the joint effort between the International Accounting Standards Board and IOSCO gave birth to the International Sustainability Standards Board, which is an independent body that is responsible for developing sustainability standards. Incidentally, yesterday, the IOSCO endorsed the first two standards that have been released. And with that endorsement, it means all public companies are expected to comply with those standards. Nigeria, as a nation, has already adopted those international standards because you need to make adequate disclosures. You need to ensure that in your operations, the environment is less impacted or is positively impacted. The issue of social life of your workers, the environment in which you operate, issue of human rights are all taken care of in your operations so that they don't get impacted negatively. And then when it comes to the issue of governance, this talks about corporate governance, how the company is being managed and run by those that are in charge, that is the board, the management team. Now, in doing that, they have to look at the issue of corporate social responsibility, what they are bringing on board that will affect the environment, the local communities positively. They have to look at issue of internal control, the effectiveness, the existence, and its strength. It also touched on the issue of disclosure, adequate disclosures, because without disclosure, investors will not have information that will help them in making investment decisions. So all those are put together under the sustainability standards, and the SEC Nigeria, being a member of IOSCO, is championing the implementation of these standards. Also, there is a joint collaboration between the SEC Nigeria and the Financial Reporting Council, the Nigeria Exchange, and the academia and other stakeholders in preparing Nigerian companies towards the implementation of those standards. So there are things that every company is expected to implement. And if you did not implement, it will definitely affect your businesses because investors will shy away from investing in your business. Customers will shy away from patronizing your products. Now, if your business is impacting on the environment negatively, people will not be happy with you. It will cost you more. If you go to some developed nations, you will see multinationals getting enmeshed in series of litigations. Those litigations come at a cost. That cost is transferred to the investors because it will eat up into the profit position of the company, and it will make them go into loss position. You can also look at it from the perspective that fines are charged by regulators on companies that are not complying with such principles. When fines are fined, it affects the image of the businesses. It also affects their profitability. Also, if you look at the banking sector, issue of sustainability is very critical. So for them to finance businesses, maybe by granting loans, they need to assess your compliance with sustainability standards such that they will be sure whatever they are financing as part of your business is something that will not have negative impact on the society and the environment in general.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Abdulsalam Sahad. Abdulsalam, obviously, it sounds like a whole lot of enlightenment is still necessary for businesses in Nigeria to adopt this ESG, because as you noted, banks are also supposed to look out for that in granting loans, among other things, and it's supposed to affect investor sentiment, but it's obvious that there's more education and enlightenment needed. But thank you so much for sharing this perspective and at least giving us this highlight this morning. Head of Financial Standards and Corporate Governance with the Securities and Exchange Commission, Mr. Sahad Abdulsalam.
Thank you.
Let's take a break now. When we come back, Indrive is coming to tell us what they do and what they have to offer. Welcome back to Watching Business Morning here on Channels Television. Transportation is a major topic of discussion in Nigeria at this time since the removal of the petrol subsidy, and we see what has happened to cost of transportation, how much you used to fill your car. If you're taking public transport, you also feel the pinch. So we have this company that says that they do have a solution they're preferring. Well, I don't know about it. We have Timothy Oladimeji. He's the business development representative in Nigeria of Indrive. Indrive. Good morning, Timothy. Good to have you here.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So I must say, this is a very good strategy for you because, you know, everybody's eyes is on food and transportation.
Right.
So talking about transport now, everybody will be, well, almost everybody will be interested. Mm-hmm. What do you have to offer at Indrive?
Basically, freedom, transparency, and the opportunity to actually negotiate your fare. In the economic downturn, it's understandable that people are looking for ways to reduce their cost of living and also maintain the standard of living. And on the transportation, because we're not just a mobility company, actually, we call ourselves a people-driven company. And how do we deliver these things that I've mentioned, which is the fairness and the freedom? It's by giving you the opportunity to actually choose how you want to ride. I mean, primarily, we give you the opportunity to negotiate how you want to take a trip for. It's not compulsory. You take it at the amounts that the algorithm or the app is giving you. You need to look at your pocket. How much is it costing me to actually go to this place? And look at what you can save or what exactly you're losing by not, taking that trip. All right. So that's what we give. We give you the opportunity to actually choose how much you're going for a trip. And if you're comfortable with it, you go for it. Also on the driver's end as well, we give the driver the opportunity to actually look at, is this a profitable trip for me? I mean, much later I'm going to share the story of how I got here and what a use case of how Indrive actually satisfies both the driver.
Maybe you should tell us now. We're curious, especially when you mention price, and then you also talk about maintaining our standard of living. Mm-hmm. Those are like two opposite sides at this time. If you want to maintain your level of living, you have to pay more. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
yes.
I mean,
it's the golden middle. All right. Our model is a peer-to-peer platform. We are not the usual taxi company. All right. We basically connect someone who needs a service with someone who is offering, then we bring ourselves out and let you deal. This is where the negotiation comes in. So I was coming from Ogudu, and I needed to get here, all right? The first person I got said, oh, he couldn't go, traffic. It was going to cost him a whole lot to come. The second person I got said, oh, traffic, he was not going to go. By the time I got the third person, I called him and explained the situation. I needed to get to this place. The opportunity cost of not making this place was higher than the cost, and he agreed and he delivered excellent service. Now, on the flip side, which is where I need to save, right? I offer a trip for 2,005, and I get someone offering 3,035, right, as a passenger, right? I can choose to either go with the 3,000 depending on the urgency of the trip, or decide to save if it's not so urgent. So it basically gives me the opportunity to actually choose in terms of, all right, spending more to actually make it make sense, or reducing the cost to, you know, save more money. So it's basically the freedom to choose that we are giving you.
So this, you're talking about private car owners or commercial car owners?
We play in the ride-hailing space, which is very popular with competitors in the ride-hailing space, but our model is just different, which basically gives you the opportunity to negotiate, as I've said earlier. But there are three things that we have been able to embed in our system, which is transparency, fairness, and freedom. So I'll explain transparency, for example. Now, when I was coming, there was traffic, and that's the reason why the drivers were not very eager, you know, to take the trip, because it was not going to pay them. But at the end of the day, for a passenger, how much you offer to pay at the start of the trip is what you pay at the end. So you're not bothered that, oh, I'm going to spend about 1 hour in traffic and the cost is going to increase. No, that is taken out.
But isn't that a disadvantage to the driver?
Now, that is where it gets sweeter, right? The driver makes a well-informed decision about the trip before he accepts. Now, if he sees the trip and he says, oh, 3.5, and he's not okay with it, he can raise it, because I got a raise. All right, he offered me a counter off, and I was
Where does
okay
he get
with
that information? Because I thought the hailing cabs, everybody goes to the GPS, and that's where you get information about traffic.
There's a recommended price, and you also see the distance from where you're going to. You see the destination, which is not very popular on other ride-hailing platform. For the driver, so I'll take it from the driver's side. A driver sees how long it's going to take him to pick the person, how long it's going to move from point A, which is the person's picking point, to the destination, which is here. And after that, he's able to estimate, because he's an expert, he's been doing this every time. He knows what the traffic time is going to be like, and he then makes a decision that, oh, this trip that this customer is giving me for 3.5, nah, it's not good for 3.5. I think 4.5 will be okay. So he's able to make a counter offer, which either by my urgency or not, I'm able to, you know, either accept or reject. So it's just the opportunity to negotiate and choose that you have. Now, on the other side, for the driver, he has the opportunity to actually make more, because we offer the least commission in the market at 9.9%. So that is how we are able to deliver that fairness to the driver. Yes, it seems
9.9, almost 10 at the edge.
right? I mean, every little drop counts at this point,
every
right?
cover means something.
So we are able to transfer that low cost of operation, because fuel is cost of operation, right? Cost of maintenance is cost of operation, as well as the commission it pays to us as a ride-hailing platform is the cost of operation. But because we're able to lower it at more than half compared to other players, it gives me the opportunity to save more. And I, as a passenger, I also enjoy excellent service delivery. If a driver is coming to me at the price that he feels is okay, for sure, he's going to do everything to satisfy me. He's not going to come grudgingly or grumbling like, oh, I'm not enjoying this trip. I'm paying about double commission to do this trip, and I don't enjoy the service. It probably gets me stuck in traffic like, well, I don't care. I mean, you're not paying me well, so why should I deliver? But we're able to look at everything that touches everyone. On the driver's side, low commission, opportunity to actually choose where you want to go. The first two drivers that I spoke to, they were okay. They were like, no, I don't want to go to this place. And they had the freedom to do that because it wasn't making economic sense to them. So everybody needs to make well-informed decision, and that's what we're offering. All right. On my side, I was able to choose from the drivers that were available, because you don't just get one driver assigned to you. Get us up to 5 to 6 drivers. You see who is closer to you, who is offering the exact price you're offering, or who is offering even more. So the difference could be, oh, someone that is close to you might be offering a bit more, or you might be lucky he's offering exactly what you're offering. So you make a well-informed decision as to the cost you're paying. So there's a golden middle there. You're paying the cost for the standard they're actually looking out for. So it's just providing more information for the users to make a well-informed decision.
So that's like what you are doing as the middleman here.
Yes.
But so let's know the drivers exactly. Do you have an app? Do you recruit them? Do you, how do you start this? How, if I wanted to participate, either as a driver or as a passenger, how do I get into the flow?
Thank you for the question. We've been here for 4 years, and we've been on ground. Even in our expansion, we have our agents who interact with this driver. Consumer education is a core thing that we do for the driver. So I'll start with the driver's part. I will go to hotspots where we find these drivers. I'll introduce the app to them. They can download it easily on the App Store.
That's the
or
Indrive
the
app.
Indrive app on the App Store for iOS, and on the Play Store for Android. Download it. It's an easy-to-use app, expressly user-friendly. It is the same app that is used for passenger and as for drivers. All right, so you just have a button that switches you from passenger mode to driver mode, and you go through the onboarding process. Very easy. Upload your papers, upload the government requested documents, and we verify the authenticity of these things over 24 hours, and then you're ready to start working as a driver. We also have, so we embedded transparency in our system, apart from the fact that what you pay at the start of the trip is what you pay at the end. We let every member of the community contribute to the transparency of drivers and passengers. So when you finish a trip, for example, you see ratings. You see, rate your driver. The popular thing is average rating that the driver has. But on our app, we let you see up to 20 to 30 ratings of the driver from past users. So you're able to know, the type of driver that is coming to pick me. This is what the last 20 customers have said about him. So you're either feeling confident about him or gearing up for maybe some sort of aggressive driver. I mean, it's the human factor that you cannot take out of business. So all these things are things that we embed in our system. So that's for driver, onboarding process. And for passenger as well, it's as simple as the driver's process. Download the app, onboard yourself through the simple onboarding process, and you can decide to move from point A to point B easily with a couple of clicks on our platform.
But verifying the driver within 24 hours, the issue of security has been great concern. We've heard a lot of disturbing stories, with the hailing cab and all of that. So how do you assure your passengers that indeed your drivers are people that are trustworthy?
Beautiful, thank you for that. The verification process requires them putting in every government required document, all right, which, gives links to them, all right. And also in terms of security, we have a security feature which allows you not only share your location, which is very popular, but also direct access to the necessary security agencies in Nigeria. In the different states, there are obviously different security outfits, and these modules are put per state. So for Lagos, you have the 767 number. You can dial it directly on our app, and you get response quickly. And as for the verification that you've mentioned, the documents are the standard practice requested in the system. And we have a very thorough verifying process, so much that we find out drivers who do fraud, like bring in a fake license, we can get you easily. And once you're found out, you're banned for life from the system. All right. Also, we have a system that punishes people who misbehave. So, for example, our drivers who get bad reviews, they get blocked for a certain time because, for example, if you send them a message that, you were flagged for doing XYZ, the driver might just say, this is a message. How many people open messages? But when you're blocked from the means of getting money, it calls your attention to it like, I did something wrong. You need to respond to it, right? And then once you respond, you're allowed back on the system. But if it continues over time, the likelihood of being banned for life is very high. So this proactive system and reactive systems are things we've put in place for the security concerns on our platform.
What about the quality of the car? You take some of this, you're paying for this service, so you expect that. You're sitting in a comfortable car,
absolutely,
nice atmosphere, ambience, good music, if at all,
Yes.
But sometimes you get in some of those cars and you're hearing the sound of the car and you're like, oh God. So how do you handle that?
First of all, I'll start from, because I said we are very proactive, we run on data for some of the things that we do, a lot, if not everything that we do. So we have a module that allows you some sort of luxury. It's called the comfort module. You get the best of the best from that module.
And pay for the best of the best.
Well, I mean, cost, as you mentioned earlier, the cost and the standard of living there has to be a correlation. So the comfort model allows you select cars from 2012 model upward, right? And we have those cars in abundance on our platform. Now, on the other side is the community approach that we have on our platform. That is why you can see about 20 to 30 feedbacks of former customers. So that's why we admonish our users to always give feedbacks about their driver. Does he have a good car? State it there. Let it be known. By the time we have reviews, we do like an overall review. We definitely reach out to drivers that don't have these standards, and then they do the needful. So it's, as I said, it's a peer-to-peer platform, connecting people who need the service to people who offer the service. But then again, we create the enabling environment with measures like negotiating, with measures like feedback, with measures like security, and just user-friendly methods to ensure that the environment is very good for them to operate.
Then, so is it just intra-city? Do you do inter? Where are you? Where do you work?
I'm going to go over the different modules that we have. All right, the first one is the intra-city. So you're moving from somewhere in Lagos, you're moving from, say, Ogudu to VI, just within Lagos. That is the intra-city. And we have this module in the 4 cities that we are presently operating, and we are going to have them in the 15
Where are the 4 cities?
The 4 cities, Lagos, Ibadan, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. Port Harcourt is the latest. Abuja and Ibadan were launched earlier this year, and they're doing beautifully well. And Lagos is our
obviously the commercial capital,
city, right, which we've been here for 4 years, and we've been enjoying very, very good patronage in the 4 years that we've been. So you have the intra-city, which takes you within the city. Now we have the intercity. Because we have a very strong network in Lagos, you can easily order for a cab from Lagos to Ibadan. So that's the intercity. It's only available within these 2 locations at the moment. And then the next one is the courier service. So our statistics show us that a lot of businesses, small businesses, so this is one way we affect the economy as well, providing infrastructures for businesses to be able to scale and do their business with ease. Courier services helps you deliver things weighing up to 20 kg within Lagos. The model is only available in Lagos. Then we noticed that people started delivering things more than 20 kg, right? And we introduced the freight option. So with the freight option, you can deliver items weighing between 20 kg to 1.2 tons on our platform. In a couple of clicks, you get orders, you get responses, and can also negotiate in such instances. Then we have the comfort module, which I had mentioned earlier, which allows you to pick very comfortable cars ranging from 2012 on board. So those are the modules that we have on our platform.
All right, thank you so much for letting us in your business, even though we know you want our money. But you're also offering comforts.
Yeah,
all right. Thank you so much, Timothy Oladimeji, Business Development Representative of Indrive in Nigeria. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
All right, now let's take a breather. When we come back, it will be AFEX time. Hey, welcome back. It's AFEX time now, and we're reviewing the market AFEX Commodities Exchange for the week ended July the 24th. And we can tell you that in the last trading week, there were mixed performances across key indicators. Starting with the turnover, it dropped more than 50%, 53.10%, closing the week at 2.92 from 6.22 billion naira in the last trading week. A number of volumes traded was also down 61.79%, while the number of deals rose on the flip side 1.56%, closing the week at 130 from 128 in the previous week. The AFEX Commodities Index witnessed a decline of 0.08%, while the AFEX Export Index rose by 0.01%, really marginal there, closing at 228.70 from 228.68 in the last trading week. Now let's look at the the volume of contracts as we see there on the screen. It witnessed an increase in volume across soybean and paddy rice. And there we have that very long red there. Now let's look at the prices across export commodities, beginning with maize right there. Maize was up 2.96%. That's about 9 naira to close at 313 naira 40 kobo. If we can see the next commodity there and see what that looks like. We have ginger, we have wheat, all of that. A lot of the commodities we see were unchanged, just as we see there, sorghum was unchanged for the week ended. Wheat also maintained 300 naira at 1,247 at the end of the week. We see cashew nuts also gained 4.64%. Soybeans, however, dropped, lost 25 naira 87 kobo. These are prices for a kilogram of this product. Cocoa was also down. This is not good for Nigeria's revenue drive. And sesame was unchanged for the week ended. Yeah, so if you want more information, you can go to AFEX website and their social media handles. You can talk to them, get responses, and of course get more information on how you can participate on the AFEX exchange. Now let's have more conversation on AFEX on boosting innovation for agri-food systems in not just Nigeria but Africa. We have joining us from our Abuja studio, Kehinde Akerele, analyst, strategy and corporate finance with AFEX. Hi, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us this morning, Kehinde.
Thank you for having me.
So, of course, the issue of Africa's population expected to hit 2.5 billion by 2050 is no longer news. And with this comes, of course, the market, which is good. But the other side, we also have to feed this 2.5 billion people. And we see that AFEX is going ahead to think of what we should do or how we should feed this 2.5 billion people in 2050. So what is the innovation that AFEX is thinking or working with, to feed this growing population?
All right, thank you very much for the question. It's not new that innovation is an indispensable tool in agricultural space. It's also not new that it's a key integral thing that we need in agriculture. Innovation helps out in manufacturing along the production value chain. It also helps out along the value chain of agriculture, from the management of inputs to the access of markets to farmers. What AFEX is doing is developing an innovation technique known as the value chain financing, where we supply farmers with inputs such as fertilizers and seedlings to improve their crop productivity, also improving their crop yields. This in terms also helps the farmers by improving their income opportunities along the value chain.
So what would you say are some of the current challenges that the agri-food system is facing? Anything new?
We all know that they will continually face challenges such as shortage of resources. Also known as, we also have the challenges like infrastructural gap. But what we're doing, still speaking on the shortage of resources, is still on the input financing part. We're supplying farmers with inputs such as seedlings and fertilizers, also trying to give them the access to markets. We have this app called COMEX, where we link farmers with traders at the fair market price, where they sell their produce at the fair market price and know that they are not being cheated in any way possible.
So Nigeria's agricultural landscape has been described largely as being traditional. What are some of those innovations that you think can transform these traditional agricultural practices?
All right. We know also about farmers' lack of access to credit. AFEX is introducing this. AFEX has this thing known as the storage warehouse receipts, where farmers can use this to collect loans from commercial banks, because they also know that they have collaterals on ground. We also have the Kudi platform, which we just developed, where we're introducing farmers to financial inclusion. We're bringing farmers into finance where they know that they have credit and they can easily go to banks to collect loans from them. Also, there's the COMEX, there's the trade financing, and a lot more that AFEX is doing to improve innovation in the agri-food systems.
All right, thank you so much for those explanations, Kende Akirili, Analyst Strategy and Corporate Finance with AFEX.
Thank you.
Let's take a breather. We'll be back. Interest rate is now at 18.75%. It was late yesterday when the announcement was made, so we did not expect that the market reacted to it, but we'll see what it does today. Perhaps Anita will be able to give us a foundation to what to expect at the close of trade today.
Good morning, Yini.
Good morning.
Yes. Well, there was some, the markets, like you rightly mentioned, that the announcement came after the Central Bank's Monetary Policy Committee, for the 8th consecutive time since May 2022, hiked the benchmark monetary policy rate by a quarter of percentage to 18.75%. And that's because Nigeria's inflation, which is currently at an 18-year high, of course, very, very high. So, and that move is still in its efforts to contain the inflation. So, but at the same time, it still has, will have the reactions for the market for midweek trading session. And we have our analysts to tell us more about that.
Okay.
But for now, let's give you a review of how it closed Tuesday's trading session for the Treasury bills market, where we will be having a primary markets auction today for the Treasury bills market. There we saw a calm trading for Tuesday, where we saw the average yield close at 4.3%. But on your board there, what you have, the highest concentration was on the 11th of January 2024 paper, which had 8 deals at about 14 billion naira, and it was a major contributor to 21.2 billion naira value of transactions there and 13 deals. Moving over to the bonds secondary market of the fixed income market, we also saw bearish sentiments there. Average yield there expanded by 2 basis points to 12.7%. There we see on your board, 26th of April 2029 paper, 19 deals at 520 billion naira. That's the major contributor to 540.12 billion naira there. For the OMO market, we also saw that the asymmetric corridor from the MPC's decision, which was adjusted yesterday, also had some impact on the open market operations. So now we will be having Princess Iruoba, fixed income dealer at FSDH Merchant Bank, to tell us more about this market the morning after the first Monetary Policy Committee decision, rates decision, under the new government, and this is a month after the ouster of the former central bank governor, Godwin Emefiele. Now we're having an acting central bank governor, but still continuing that stance of interest rate hike. Now, to tell us more about that, let's join Princess Iruoba for more on that details. Good morning, Princess.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, now I see the market has been, for the bonds market, has been bullish in the last couple of days. Now, can you tell us how the market is reacting at the moment, particularly where there's a primary markets auction going on as we speak?
Okay, thank you. The market has opened quiet this morning, and that's likely because the results of the meeting came in late post market. And we've seen that market has opened quiet, like you rightly said. There is a primary market auction for bills currently holding, that scheduled to close around 11. So we see a lot of attention skewed towards that. We expect that the stock rate will hinge slightly higher just to reflect the MPC outcome, but we don't expect a lot. What would largely drive markets will be liquidity, as it has always been.
Okay, Princess, so we're running out of time, but just one question. We've had 4 monetary policy decisions so far this year, and we were supposed to have 6, so that means we're left with just 2 monetary policy decisions left for September the 25th and 26th, and November the 20th and 21st later this year. So what's your forecast for the MPC if we take into cognizance the inflation environment?
How 5 members voting to hold. I expect that at the next meeting, if we continue to see taper down on the inflation figures that the NCB prints out, I expect that the decisions will be around hold to a cut, right? So if we see that pass-through effect continue on the inflation market, I expect that at the next committee meeting in September, committee members will likely vote to hold.
Okay, all right, Princess, so our eyes are always on this market, especially for investors, where we always guide our investors to take caution and consult your financial advisor. Thank you so much for your time on our program. That was Princess Iroba, fixed income dealer at FSD Merchant Bank, giving us details about the market. But for the equities market, it was another day of gain. More than 300 and almost 400 billion are added to the market.
Yeah, equities investors are smiling to the bank these days.
Smiling to the bank.
All right, Anita, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Well, let's head over to London, where Juliana is standing by to give us updates from there. And Juliana, good morning. Well, we did talk about this issue of political sentiment and bank account, but because we're almost out of time, I think there's the issue of renters, high demand for rentals. Is this connected to the migrants that have moved to the UK?
Hi, Innie. Yes, I would say that is a kind of xenophobic sentiment. There is some big breaking news this morning about the NatWest boss stepping down. NatWest, of course, one of the biggest banks in Europe. But we can talk about the housing issue, which is an issue that the government here in the UK have been speaking about. Michael Gove, the Levelling Up Secretary, gave an address earlier this week talking about the Prime Minister's commitments to build more homes for people in this country.
All right, Juliana, I see you want to talk about that NatWest boss resigning today. I guess it's connected, obviously, to that conversation we had earlier.
Well, it's a huge story. It's the biggest business story in the UK at the moment, of course, because this has garnered much headlines. We did speak about it on Monday, as you said, involving Nigel Farage, the former Brexit party leader, former UK independence leader. It was actually him that led to Britain leaving the European Union, which has given us lots of issues. He had a bank account at Coutts, which was a private account, which is owned by NatWest Group, and then of course this morning it has led to the scandal has led to the resignation of Dame Alison Rose.
All right, Juliana, thank you so much for that. I'm sure you have more gist for us at 1:30 for Business Incorporated. All right, so it's now time for crypto. We have just a couple of minutes, so I don't know if Vladi will be able to take his guests.
Will I? Of course I will. Yeah. Let's look at the sentiment real quick. 51 points neutral, Innie, and you didn't wear green as usual, as I said last time. Let's look at the top cryptocurrency we track. I would see Bitcoin there, still below that 30,000 levels. Kind of struggle to get back above that level. It's looking quite tough right now. Ethereum, 1,858 down. But see XRP, on the flip side, looking good this morning, 2.22%. Not looking bad at all. Let's bring in Rume Ofi now, financial market analyst. Hello, Rume. Good morning. Hello, Rume.
Good morning, Ladi. Good morning.
Morning, Rume. So we're seeing that struggle below 30K for Bitcoin, but XRP seems to be defying the market at this time. What are you seeing with XRP?
XRP is just moving by narrative. The narrative that XRP is moving with will not stand the test of time because these issues are still in court, and people are also thinking that this is just a short-term judgment that has been given by the court, and that is exactly what is moving the market right now. But I don't see it being sustainable going forward because the king Bitcoin is still indecisive at some point. So I really don't see anything that is going to come up.
Yeah, Rume is still bearish on XRP regardless of how much profit it's given right now. But Rume, let's talk about Ponzi schemes. They're back again, larger now in the crypto industry. How do you identify them really?
Thank you very much, Ladi. This has been ravaging our country. We should be very, very careful. Although I don't know the steps by the authorities right now, but we should be very careful. Overly consistent return. They will tell you they're going to give you certain amounts at a particular period of time. Consistently, you will see that there's a high level of secrecy in the fees structure. Then you also find that there's a difficulty receiving payment, and as well as it usually comes as an affinity. My brother, my friend said this, made money from this, that, and a lot of people are losing money. I think quite a recent one was this AAS bot thing that confirms 100% profit, which I think it should really be looked up to, because certain allegations have been made and certain investigations are going on. In the past, we must have heard of Ethereum million money for Sarge here and there. For crying out loud, we have our issues here in Nigeria and we have to deal with them economically. We don't like a situation whereby some of these products are coming from other countries, coming to jump on the fact that the people here are not as knowledgeable as those in the West. So we need to be able to hold these guys accountable. Who are the people pushing all of these? They need to come and tell us what they are doing, how they are going about, and a way for people to also check some of these codes, if they are either open source or other words, they could check. GitHub is, some of these things are easy, but people don't like to research to get some of this information. But I'm really hoping that we have a very robust ecosystem where people can do things easily as against what is happening now.
I guess it's just run away from guaranteed returns in most of these markets, right?
Yes, thank you.
Except their government securities. Anyway, thank you so much, Rume Ofi. Always great having your perspective.
Thank you very much, Ladi. Always a pleasure.
All right, now let's look at the top cryptocurrencies this morning. We see comp topping that counter, double-digit gains, 16.15%. Theta, back metaverse narrative might be coming back there, 5.48%, 84 cents, trying to get back above that $1 mark. And we see Doge also on the top gainers counter, 3.32%. Let's look at the top losers this morning. XDC is topping that counter, 6.89%. No double-digit losses, so it's still quite stable in the market. We see the meme coin, new kid on the block there, 3.74%. Still a lot of profit taking with Pepe, the meme coin. So, that's what it is right now. Ponzi schemes back again.
Yeah.
Remember
don't
one
be
time,
greedy. Don't be greedy.
Remember those times you had those referral Ponzi schemes? You have signed this one up, signed that one up, then you go up the ladder.
Network marketing?
Network marketing. That's calmed down a bit.
Don't be too hungry for money.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, Ladi, thank you. 1:30. So that's it on the program. Thank you so much for being a part of the program. This midweek, we have 2 more episodes for the week here on Business Morning. This is where you get relevant and current business conversations to help you make the right decisions for your economy. I'll be back tomorrow. God's grace, Ladi will be here 1:30. And you can watch at any time, youtube.com/channelsweb.